Welcome to this New Testament Greek lesson on the imperative. In this lesson today, we'll be looking at different forms and different uses of the imperative. First, let's have a look at how to identify and how to construct the imperative. Unlike the indicative mood, the imperative is timeless, and therefore present and aorist do not express time. Rather, they express aspect, which we will look at in a moment. The present imperative is formed by using the present tense stem, a connecting vowel, and the imperative morpheme. An aorist is formed much like the present. It has an unaugmented aorist tense stem, a tense formative, and an imperative morpheme. In the imperative, there is no first person, neither singular nor plural, as one usually doesn't express a command to themselves. The second person singular needs to be paid careful attention to because it is irregular. The two different aspects are present aspect and aorist aspect. The present aspect, similar to the indicative, expresses a continuous action, whereas the aorist aspect is undefined. An example for continuous would be Luke 11:3, give us each day our daily bread. The present aspect is used to indicate how or when something is to be done. David Alan Black also further identifies that it is usually used for attitudes and conducts. He also suggests that it can be used in a customary sense depending on the context, rendering a translation like make it a habit to do something. An example for the aorist aspect is Matthew 6:11. Also the Lord's Prayer. However, Matthew, contrary to Luke, does not use the present but the aorist aspect. Give us today our daily bread. In this case, the aorist aspect indicates that something is to be done. It is generally used for specific cases. The active imperative can be translated as lose, usually omitting the pronoun you, or in the third person singular, let him lose. The imperative also has a perfect tense, however it is only used a handful of times and can be looked at case by case. If you would like to familiarize yourself more with the different forms and the translations, feel free to pause the video here. Having understood how the imperative is formed and how to identify it, let's have a look at the different uses. The three most common uses are the imperative of command, of prohibition, and of entreaty. Andreas Köstenberger also identifies three more which we will look at the end. The most common use is the imperative of command. It is usually used to express a command made by a person in authority. The next common use of the imperative is the imperative of prohibition. The imperative of prohibition is formed by using may plus the present or the aorist imperative. An example of the present imperative would be Matthew 6:25. Me merimnate te psyche humon. Do not worry about your life. The author is trying to indicate that the action is already happening. Alan Black also suggests that the word stop could be supplied to indicate the discontinuation of the action. An example of the aorist imperative is found in Matthew 6:3. Me gnoto hei aristera su typoie hei dexia su, which translates as do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. The action in this example is not already happening and the author is urging the recipient to not start doing something. The last common use of the imperative is the imperative of entreaty. The imperative of entreaty is found in prayers or in appeals to superiors. An example of this would be Matthew 6:10. El theto he basileia su, genetheito to theleima su, hos en urano kai epigeis. May your kingdom come, may your will be done. Frederick Long rightfully points out that this is hardly a command made by a human to God. However, I also agree with Mounce, who nuances the urgency of the prayer through the imperative. Three less common uses of the imperative are the permissive imperative, which is used to convey permission or allowance. The conditional imperative, which is similar to the subjunctive by stating a condition, as well as greetings, which uses a stereotyped imperative such as found in Matthew 26:49. We have seen that the imperative mood is used for much more than simply to express a command. And it is important to remember the different uses of the imperative when translating the text, especially the distinction between a continuous aspect and an undefined aspect can have major implications on the translation. For reference and further studies, here's a list of all the resources that were used in the making of this video.